the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
And we're back.
My name is Noel Carroll, and
that's right.
I'm one of your co-hosts. In case you hear the higher voice, that's who you're listening to.
That's right. And I'm Jacob Gibbons. If we're not number one on iTunes this week, then I don't know why we're even trying.
I think it would be time to give up.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
How was your weekend? Good?
It was, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was my son's birthday.
Oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
so
Happy
we-
birthday to your son.
We raged.
Oh, nice.
I mean, that's what you do. He was
Yeah.
10, so
10,
10's the year when you rage.
you always rage
You
on
always
10-year-old.
start getting them, but obviously it's we only drink environmentally friendly liquors. But
Of course.
yeah. But a bunch of smashed 10-year-olds, running around. No, I'm kidding, of course.
We're joking.
Kidding, of course. It was a good time. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, how about
That sounds
you?
Great. It was good. It was a good weekend. We did a sleepover at the zoo, at the LA Zoo.
What?
Yeah.
That must have been amazing.
Yes and no. no offense to the LA Zoo. So this was about my oldest son, who's close to the same age as the exact same age, 10, as Noel's son, is in Cub Scouts, and I'm a leader. I'm a pack master in our pack, and several months ago, somebody suggested we do this thing called Zoopendous Nights.
Good
Zoopendous,
names. It
right?
sounds stupendous.
So you go to the zoo after hours, after it's closed, and then you get to tour it at night. They feed you, and then you get to stay. So all of that sounds really great, right? Well, the place that you stay is what would be like a classroom. Tile floor, fluorescent lights, and so it's up to the parents and the kids to bring inflatable mattresses and to all share common space to sleep for the night.
Well, they're trying to make you relate to how it feels to be in the wild with all the rest of the animals out there, buddy.
Yes, because everybody knows they make rhinos sleep on tile floors.
Absolutely.
And
in groups
on inflatable mattresses.
Yes, absolutely.
Because here's the worst part about the entire experience. Every adult had an inflatable mattress. And if you hear about 25 people rolling over on inflatable mattresses, it sounds like when you rub your hands on a balloon all night long. So that's strike one. Strike two is adults snore. A lot of adults snore. It happens more frequently, I think, than, occasionally a kid will snore. But man, the statistics of the likelihood of an adult snoring is very high.
We should have somebody look that up and check those facts for us.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. If you're a snoring expert, then please
call in.
Call in. Write us, tweet at us, and let us know if you know about snoring. But it's just much higher. And so if you have that many adults on noisy air mattresses and snoring, needless to say, I probably slept 2 hours tops. Like, at least that's what it felt like. Oof. So that made for a rougher experience for the Zoopendous Nights. But the kids were happy, and they loved it. They walked away the next morning. All the kids say, that was amazing. We had so much fun. So I was like, well, I guess
in the end, that's the point.
I guess.
Maybe Zoopendous for kids, but not as Zoopendous for the grown-ups.
I guess that's the point. So thank you, LA Zoo, for a Zoopendous night for the kids.
For the kids. It's for the kids. That's why we're doing this podcast. It's for the kids.
We're doing this
in the end,
tomorrow.
That's right.
For the generations to come. So it was I had a great time, but I had to share that little anecdote about the sleeping experience. And hopefully we've connected with some snoring experts now.
Yeah, I'm sure that we can solve this problem for all of Earth now.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's episode 2 is, one, we tackle some environmental issues, but 2, we discuss how to eliminate snoring forever.
We just destroy it.
Yeah. That's a very lofty goal. Yeah. I think that's a strong platform you could run on in
destroying
for
snoring.
I will end snoring forever.
Yes.
Yeah. Funded by the Breathe Right strips for your nose. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we could dive in with what our subject is. I think today what we're going to tackle is we shared an article last week in our social media, and it was about an oil spill that's happening right now in the Solomon Islands.
That's right.
And there's an oil spill there currently, and the problem is it happened about a month ago, and this was, an ocean cargo ship that had, I think it's about 600 tons of oil on it. And as of now, about 80 tons have leaked into the ocean after it is, it got a gash on the side of it and it started to spill out. And this ship is an Indonesian cargo ship. And I think it was a Korean company that was moving this oil from one place to the next. And so it started to spill out. And there's been so many issues with getting people to jump into action
Yeah.
and help clean this up.
Nobody wanted to take responsibility.
Nobody's taking responsibility, or at least they're saying, "Oh, well, we can't get in there. The weather's a problem. We're doing the best we can." But you know who jumped in?
The Aussies, baby.
The Aussies. The Australian government said, "Well, we're not going to stand for this."
Yeah.
And they said, "We're going to jump in right away. We're going to help." So the Australian government is working fast and diligently to get this oil cleanup as soon as possible, because nobody else was doing anything after about a month.
Right.
So
Which is just insane.
insane, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where this is an example of where we're saying everybody needs to help, right?
Yeah.
And Noel even said his great hashtag phrase that he put along this is, "It is our problem."
It is our problem. Yeah, absolutely. And that's I think the thing that would make a huge difference in the planet in general is if everybody was like, well, okay, I mean, it is my responsibility. If
Right.
it's nobody's, then it's mine.
Right.
I mean, it's so easy to pass things off, to say, well, this is this is my neighbor can handle that one, or this is Bob's issue, or
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
going to go to the bathroom now, so someone else can deal with it, right? But if you actually just take the thought, look, yeah, I didn't drop that piece of paper on the ground, but there it is, and there's a garbage can right there. You just pick it up and throw it away. It's a little thing. It's a little
exactly.
thing.
It's a little
but it
thing.
makes a big difference.
But when it comes to oil spills, it's a big thing.
Yeah, but much a bigger deal when it's a boat just
work
leaving
already.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
particularly because you've got to imagine that with all of the history of oil spills that there have been, that there would be something in place.
Now, that's the good thing, is that for the most part, once I read this story and we shared this story, it got me into thinking about the oil spills, especially the ones that have happened in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And for me, I really remember the Exxon Valdez being a big deal. You remember that, right?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
The oil covered, the birds and
birds,
everything,
the
wiping stuff, and
images.
turtles, covered in garbage.
It was the first time. It was 1989. We're kids. And you just were inundated with all these images of animals soaked in oil. And it was so tragic and just unbelievable about how much damage it had caused. And this was near Alaska, where it happened. And so I dug into the story. Did you ever know the story about how it happened? About the ship captain?
No, I didn't know about the ship captain. Just
So in
crashed.
my reading, so this is what's so interesting is when you dig into this stuff, there's one oil spill and then you're curious about the other. Well, there was always an investigation on it, and apparently the ship captain, he had been at the bar.
Oh, God.
And he had passed on the steering of the ship to first mate, gone back to his quarters,
John.
and gone to take a leak. And, And
Hey,
so-
Johnny, take the wheel. I gotta take care of something.
I love that I just said gone to go take a leak, as if that's the worst possible thing you could have just said. I'm gonna go take a leak. Oh, I didn't mean that kind of leak. So he, I mean, this was all stuff that I read. I could probably dig in, and there might be people who know this case much better than I do. But there were a lot of factors that happened that caused it. Them being, there were icebergs in the water, and they were going on the inbound to get out, and so they had been given specific directions on how to get out of the area, because it was from Alaska and it was coming down to Long Beach. It was on its way down here, and so they hit an iceberg, and the amount that spilled was 10.8 million gallons of oil. And so that sounds like a lot. And I was like,
that's more than I have.
Right.
Yeah.
It's way more.
Yeah.
So that was a disaster. And then I was like, I bet you that was the biggest in history. Oh boy. No.
Not
I didn't even rank in the top 10. That's the crazy thing is back then I thought to myself, there's nothing bigger than the Exxon Valdez. And I was way off.
Because all the PR, I mean, it was a huge media storm.
I think it was really the first time that the technology and the way that we were communicating things had gotten so much greater.
Yeah.
And that was even in 89.
Yeah.
But the big one that's happened within the past decade, in 2010, was the Deepwater Horizon, the
God,
BP.
and the Gulf.
That was
a nightmare.
That was real bad.
Yeah, but that wasn't even a ship, though.
No, that was a drilling, whatever you call
Yeah,
it, drilling vessel that sits out there, right?
Yeah, that's right. They were drilling for oil.
Right. So it's like 45 miles out from Louisiana. And that was one of those. Yeah, it's like, I only know of those things, by the way, from the film Armageddon. That's how I know of those things. My oil drilling knowledge is not that great.
Yeah.
But when I saw the
You haven't spent a lot of time on platforms.
No,
huh?
I haven't spent a lot of time. And I even had a friend in college who had to work on one.
Really?
But before I knew that, I saw Armageddon.
Oh, you sure did. Everyone did. Everyone did.
Yes, everyone. Because you don't want to miss a thing.
I mean,
so
come on.
Yeah, so I saw Armageddon, and I was like, oh, so there's these huge structures that sit out in the water.
Yeah.
The drill, and that's what the Deepwater Horizon was. It was a drilling structure in the ocean.
Yeah.
Blew up.
Yeah.
And lots of deaths on there. It was 11 fatalities on the thing. And then it broke off the oil, where they were getting the oil from down on the sea level.
Yeah.
And they couldn't cap it.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
So it's like having a straw in a cup that you just shook up to hell.
Yeah.
And there's just oil just flying right on top
out.
of it.
It's like those cartoons where there's a hole in a dam wall, and they put their finger in it, and then it shoots out over here, and they put their finger in that, and then, I mean, it was literally just, and I think it was 200 million gallons. So we're talking, Exxon Valdez looks like just a splash compared to this level of oil in the water.
just dumped a little squirt there.
Yeah, exactly. So this was
and it just kept coming out and kept coming out, and they couldn't stop it.
They couldn't stop it. And so when I was looking at both of these, the entire industry, from the Exxon spill to the BP spill, so many things have been put in place to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen again.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, there has been huge ecological improvements. From the Exxon Valdez, they decided from then on that the ships would no longer be single hull.
Oh, well, it seems like that might be a good idea. That should have been a good call in the first place, you'd think, right?
They
just to protect your investment, that's a good call.
All oil in one hull. All eggs in one. What could possibly go wrong? You know, like, that's the thing. Is they realized, they're like, well, maybe we should split this up into a couple hulls. So that was a huge thing. And then, of course, we've seen GPS has changed so much.
Yeah.
We can
You have a way better idea of what's out there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing we accomplished anything up until this point, because now you can literally see everything. Yeah. And there's satellites and there's visibility.
Yeah, I mean, if you crash into an iceberg now, they should award you at that point. I mean, it's like that's incredibly well done. Like, how did you do that? Like, you found that iceberg. That's just
you went right into that thing. You had so much notification that was right there.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I mean, the Titanic would have really benefited from a GPS.
I feel like that would have helped a lot.
It would have really changed things.
Or just have more boats on the escape boats. Well, look, there's a couple things. We
could go about the Titanic, but they didn't spill any oil, just people.
Right, and who cares? People, we can remake those, and they're biodegradable.
Yes, but the environment is something we have to worry about.
I feel like spilling people almost helps the sea.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Too soon, Noel.
Oh, too soon. Is it? You're right. Gosh, it's just not that long ago the Titanic fell. We'll probably get letters from somebody who was on the Titanic.
There might be. There might be some angry DiCaprio fans that get furious.
By the way, they'll send a letter too, not a tweet. It'll actually be
So we won't hear about this for a while. So you're fine. Send it to P.O. Box 999.
But that's good. So has that made a difference? I mean, are there less spills than
absolutely. I mean, I think that when it comes to ship oil spills, the things that have been put in place really have reduced that tremendously.
Well, that's good.
And as for the Deepwater Horizon, I think that was just something that they were unprepared with, the explosion and the capping of it. But I wish I knew more. And if people do know more about what are the other things that have been put into place to prevent that from happening again, please inform us, send
on
us
these
information.
Platforms. What's their
like
what are those idiots doing?
What are they doing? What is Bruce Willis? What is he doing now that he's back on the oil rig with Ben Affleck?
That's right. Now that they're there and happy on a planet that didn't get destroyed thanks to their asteroid. Just tearing that asteroid in half and having it split, or maybe it was more than half. Was it 3 pieces? I don't remember.
Several chunks.
Several chunks. Either way, they saved Earth.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't get enough credit for that.
Yeah, and that was
like Ben Affleck, and people are all mad at him about his Batman thing. I'm like, guys,
they're forgetting that he saved
Earth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Chunks of Asteroid was the original title of Armageddon. Yeah. But they just didn't think it was working.
They're like, wow, it just doesn't have the
Chunks of Asteroid this summer. Chunks of Asteroid, starring Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Aerosmith.
And I don't want to miss a chunk.
Yeah. That'd be a massive hit. I don't know what they're thinking. Armageddon.
Man. Well, there's always why can't we make parodies of films that already came out? Like, why can't there be a cinematic Weird Al? Like, why can't I take like a film and then just do the whole film, but just a completely ridiculous version of it? There's
No,
probably
I feel like that. Didn't they do that? That was in the 2000s. I feel like they did that, a bit of that with like some of the Scream movies,
Scary Movie.
Yeah, didn't they? And that they had that what's that cheerleading movie where they you brought it.
Bring It On.
Yeah, didn't they do like a Bring It On?
Yeah, they did kind of a parody of that. You're
something?
right. You're right that the since Airplane, Naked Gun, like the Zucker and Abrams, those are parodies of films.
Yeah.
I guess it's just funny because
there hasn't been one.
There hasn't been somebody who really nails that in a while.
Yeah.
And I think that like Weird Al is a single artist who took music and could do that over and over and over again, and everyone was great.
Yeah,
and I think
he's a legitimate genius.
He is a legitimate genius,
and that's really what this podcast is about.
I know you. I'm digressing big time, but we were just singing Weird Al downstairs, and so that's why I think he's fresh in my mind. Yeah. And I couldn't resist talking about it. I had to say
you have to, and I feel like the environmental community needs to know.
If first of all, if you're super young and you're not aware of who Weird Al Yankovic is, I highly recommend you go listen to him.
Although, my kids listen to him, so I feel like he's making a comeback.
That's because you're a cool dad.
Yeah. Aw, see, shucks. But I don't know. I feel like that guy hasn't, because he keeps making new albums.
He's not gone.
Like, he hasn't stopped.
He's not gone. Yeah. So when you were at your son's Rager this weekend, you played a lot.
We were blasting Weird Al. I mean, Weird Al was everywhere.
Good.
Yeah, and he's on the YouTubes.
He is?
Oh, he's there. You can find him. If you go to the tubes of you, you will see just
lots of Weird Al.
It's mostly Weird Al on YouTube. It's mostly what it is. Yeah, I mean, I would say 80% of the content on YouTube, is Weird Al. Ah, no doubt. I mean, I probably need someone to we should get our producer to look that up as well.
Yeah,
and our producer, of
course. Get on that. As I talk to this empty chair.
Across the hall.
Get on that right away.
So, real quick though, not to get back to the
No, I think you should get back. I think everybody listening is like, can you guys get back on topic?
A bit of a tangent. So why did this ship crash? If they have all these safety things in place and all these different measures that are causing people to do this less, then what happened with this ship in the Solomon Islands that made it do that?
As far as I know, this is going to be under investigation because it got the ship. They're wondering if they were following all the regulatory rules, if they had gone off course, they've been veered off in a storm, got snagged into the area. So I think that there's research that's going to be done about this cargo ship and did it follow appropriate maritime laws and whatnot. So this could be a one-off because it does seem to be something that is more and more preventable. But of course, when you're dealing with open water in the sea, you are dealing with weather systems and cyclones and things like that would cause something to veer off course, and then trying to get back on, they get snagged. And so there are these variables, these acts of God that I think are impossible to. But what I found in the articles, there wasn't anything definitive because it just happened a month ago, and the ship is still there. Right. As we're talking right now, it is still there, and their biggest concern is, like, if we were to have an aerial shot, it is sitting right off the coast of the Solomon Islands, and it's near a UNESCO. Am I saying that right? UNESCO heritage site. Oh, wow. So it's close to that, and it looks like a ship, and it literally looks like it's bleeding out into the ocean. You can see the oil coming out, and we're at 80 tons, and there are still on the ship, there's still 600 tons.
Wow.
So the effort right now is to get aboard and get that stuff out. Okay. So they're bringing in ships to get the oil off the ship, so there's no more risk of it spilling out into the water, and that's the steps. But I would imagine once it's done and they fixed it and got out, there's going to be examinations as to what happened. Let's look at the manifest. Let's look what was reported. What were the call-ins? So I think that's where we're at right now. So we don't know why, but the point and what you said earlier is, it is our problem. Yeah. And this is an example of where no matter what the laws were, whatever regulations or whose fault it was, you needed somebody to come forward and say, we're going to help. Right. We'll worry about that later. Yeah. But let's just dive in and help. And that's what Australia did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the neighbor's house on fire. Let's get the fire department. Let's help. Right. Let's do something to get the thing put out. Yeah. Even let's not worry about how it started, how it caused, or what's going on with it. Let's fix the problem, and then we'll come back to it.
Put out the fire.
But let's help. Let's get it done.
And I think that's a good example, a good metaphor for where we are with the climate and the planet, and that's what we're doing. Yeah, is that it's no longer about who is responsible for what, right? We have to start looking at the entire planet as just one living, breathing organism that we all live in.
Right.
And so even if this area is polluted and this area isn't as much, or this area has more, issues in terms of like congestion of people and this one doesn't, it's like we all have to find a way to work together to make this ecosystem work and function together and breathe in harmony.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's just do it one little bit at a time.
Yeah. Exactly.
One little thing at a time. And just if everybody just they personally take the idea that this is my problem.
Yeah.
It is my problem.
Yeah.
And you just do something.
Yeah.
Some little thing.
Exactly.
And everybody takes that kind of responsibility. It will make a massive difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it just it makes me wonder everything about this ship and where it ended up.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder globally where it landed is going to be a huge, like, depending on where this wreck would have happened, near what countries, you would see different response levels. If it was outside of Russia or China or over here near Hawaii by the U.S., like the response times. There have been actual things. Here, let me grab my form.
Yeah.
There have been actual, don't mind me bending away from the mic. There have been, since some of these spills, the Office of Response and Restoration has been a government organization that's been put in place. Okay. And then there was a Historic Oil Pollution Act of 1990. So there have been, especially from the U.S. standpoint of things, there's been tons of measures put in place to make sure. But when we're dealing with something around the world like this is way off in the Solomon Islands, and so the closest.
Well, in the U.S., I'm not sure if it's been reported in the U.S. still.
No, it's one of those stories that I kind of had to dig for.
Yeah, it's amazing how these international stories that actually have a massive effect on the planet. Right. In general.
Exactly.
And it's all our planet, right? They don't actually make it a lot of times to the U.S. because we're worried about other personal problems, I guess, or our own stuff, our own issues, and that's not good either.
Yeah. But you're right. We only knew about the story because Noel's brother Mike sent us the link, and he was way on the other side of the world, so he got access to that information and knew about it. And he was like, I don't even think they're talking about this where you guys are. Yeah. We're like, they definitely are not. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, probably in the next week or so, it'll make its way here. Yeah. But just goes to show you, it's already been out there for a month, and probably nobody even knows about it.
Yeah. This podcast is the first you've heard.
We are breaking news live. Oh, wait, that's not how podcasts work.
Not quite live, but live-ish. It was live when it happened.
Yeah. But you don't want to miss a thing. Back to Armageddon. I'm going to bring that up so many times.
We should change the theme song. Not that I don't love the theme song, but maybe it should be, do I close my eyes?
You want me to redo the Biofriendly podcast theme song to kind of reflect or mirror Aerosmith?
If it could just be the Aerosmith song, but you singing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would really be great.
I think that can happen. Yeah. That's a future thing.
Thanks. I'm in.
I love it. Well, we're gonna try a new segment here on the show. We're gonna talk a little bit about things that are trending on the Twitters, on the social media.
On the Twitters.
Yeah. Cut to distorted guitar.
Trending on the Twitters.
We could call it green tag.
Green tag.
Green tags.
I like that.
Green tags. A hashtag.
Yeah.
This is the Biofriendly podcast green tag.
Green tag.
Okay. So one of the big things that's trending, and this kind of blew up over the weekend, which we were on top of. Biofriendly was on top of it.
Biofriendly planet.
If you don't know about this, it is so cool. I first saw it on Saturday morning. I saw it on Reddit. And on Reddit, somebody had posted an image of it was a teenage boy, and he was standing in front of a whole trash-filled field. And then the image below it was all the trash was picked up, and he was standing in front of a bunch of bags, plastic bags of garbage that he had cleaned up. And he wrote at the top, he was like, hey, if you teens are bored, then how about, going out and cleaning up some trash, or this cleanup challenge or trash challenge. And it is unbelievable how fast this trend took off just over the matter of a couple days. I tweeted it out. I put it on Facebook, and the hashtag is either hashtag trash challenge or trash tag or cleanup challenge. Those are the three categories I've primarily seen it. But I have seen over and over again just images of dirty beaches, forests, woods, parks, and it's always the same thing. It's a single person, or sometimes it's a group of people, and it's a mess. And I mean, some of these places you go, that would take
Forever.
I can't even imagine how long that took. And you can tell because in the 2 pictures that people have changed clothes. So you can tell
it took a couple days.
It didn't happen in an afternoon. And so you see this in all these, and I highly recommend go look in this hashtag category. Look at the trash challenge because you will see these amazing images. And it's really caused some excitement because, we live in an era right now where the younger generation, everybody just wants the likes, baby.
Yeah.
You want the likes. You want to post.
Why else are we alive?
Yeah, right. I want that tasty online validation. And we have an entire generation that loves that. I'm going to share something on Twitter or Instagram and I'm going to get so many likes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't care if it's for this.
Yeah.
Reap all the karma you want. If you're going to use something like this to get likes, then by all means.
Get all the likes you can get.
I would rather than a mirror selfie, or some kind of bathing suit picture, like the fact that I'm seeing teenagers.
do it in a bathing suit picture.
Or
that's cool.
That's very valid. That's valid. If you want to clean up in a bathing suit,
then
then
you'll probably
do it.
get more likes, right? So clean up, put on your bathing suit with all the job you've done, and enjoy your time in the sun.
No matter what gender, whatever you just clean up in a bathing suit, and we'll all appreciate the effort.
Here's the thing: the fact that people are actually liking it, and you're actually seeing the tremendous response to all of this, proves that it's a good thing.
It is.
That it's the right kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes doing the right thing is how you get the likes.
Yes. Exactly.
So this is great,
It's great.
It's creative. It's a great, really creative, wonderful way to help the environment, and kudos to all the people who are doing this. This is amazing.
I think it's fantastic, and I know some of these pictures are probably happening right now.
Yeah.
But it's also opened the door. Excuse me. Hold on. I'm drinking coffee and water, and I'm belching. Jeez.
That's great for radio.
It is good.
Yeah.
You're loving the sound of that. But it's not only a thing that's happening live and in real time that we'll see probably for the next weeks, but it's also opened up conversations about things that have happened over the past few months of this same kind of effort that's been happening around the world. There was an image that somebody had, I think it was from 2017, and it was just this beach. And we're talking probably an image aerial, high up enough that you could see this was a couple miles of trash.
Wow.
And then you saw over, however many months it took, they cleaned it up completely. And that was an image that's being shared.
Yeah.
And then the most interesting thing, which I tweeted about this morning, which was there was a thing that happened in 2009 in Rwanda.
Okay.
And in Rwanda, they started this holiday. Let me look at the name here. It's looking for the name.
Looking for the name of the thing I was talking about.
So I found this morning. Rwanda, they have a thing called Umuganda. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's Umuganda.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it translates roughly to coming together in common purpose.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And so this has been a tradition going on for 10 years now, and every last Saturday of the month, everyone has to clean up.
Really?
Everyone. It's not volunteer.
Oh, so if you're having a beer that day, then the cops are coming. They'll put gun to the head.
Get up. The only way you could do it is if you get your beer, and then you immediately walk over to a recycling bin and you dump beer that's finished being drunk into the bin and look and give a thumbs up to the cops. That you're doing your part while drinking.
Has this sped up the drinking?
I think it's rampant.
Because you got to figure, right? I mean, like they get caught by the cops, you got to down that thing.
You got to down it fast.
Because otherwise it's not recyclable.
I think that Umuganda is a day of cleaning up and throwing a few back. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
If you're going to be cleaning, you might as well have a nice buzz going, right?
Yeah.
But this was another thing that from this trash challenge. So what's so exciting about it is we're seeing now in the social media space, and we're going to see this more and more, Twitter, Instagram, and everything. Once something catches fire like this, and you have a thing like hashtag trash challenge or cleanup challenge, it opens up this dialogue globally.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a guy, I tweeted it out, and he was from Nigeria, and he wrote back, and he was like, "This is what we need in Nigeria," from the one that I shared, and then immediately somebody of great prominence in Nigeria with a huge social media following was like, "Hey, people who live in Lagos, let's do the cleanup at this location." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's spreading on such a cool global level." Yeah. And then when you see things like this that are going on in Rwanda, you realize that there's been these efforts to clean up and clean up and clean up. And we could see in the next 10 years that this just becomes a normal thing, that everybody's always committed to going out and making sure. Because when we go on hikes and I see, and I'm out in even the Angeles forests, and I see trash out there, I'm like, what is
crazy.
wrong?
I actually taken to bringing a bag with me.
Yes.
Because as I'm going up, I'll pick up the stuff that I see just because it just drives me so crazy.
It's so upsetting.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
I know me, and you too, if you're listening to this show, you probably feel like we do. But I in this modern day, I don't know how anybody ever does that. I don't know how anybody just finishes a Mountain Dew and drops it in the middle of the woods, and they're like, no big deal.
This is cool.
That's
cool, man.
Who are you?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Where did your parents go wrong? What happened that you think that that's okay?
Yeah, well, because it's not like we live in a world that isn't talking about it, right?
No,
I mean, this is such a
it's
huge
constant.
topic.
It's
such a
constant.
big topic. I mean, it's something a lot of people care about. It's something that young people care about, and usually you would think that it was the young people who are doing it because they're like, just out have partying and too many beers and who cares or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
But I don't think that's the issue here.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
I think young people are probably cleaning up. I think that there's just a laziness and apathy that exists out there of bringing food items out to the woods and then leaving them. I don't
like
get
it. I don't get it. I don't like it.
I don't get it.
And I want it to stop.
Just stop. I know. So that is something that when I see these cleanup challenges, they make me so happy. But then you also look at these areas that are riddled with garbage and you just go, how did it ever get to that point? Yeah. I could understand a long time ago when this wasn't
like
the
caveman times before they had trash cans. Right? Before landfills existed. You figure like grog and fact.
Back then
they were probably just like, and they would just throwing
their
Red can of beer.
Cans, just like whatever.
You know what I mean? And you can't blame them.
Right.
Because at that time,
they weren't educated.
They weren't educated.
The recycling
There was
program.
not an investment in recycling or even garbage.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But today we're a little more, barely slightly more advanced.
Yeah, recycling back then was like reusing the mammoth carcass,
Yeah,
right? That was
right,
recycling.
right.
And
by the way,
interesting ways to
by
use
the
the
way,
mammoth.
kudos to Gronk for doing that. That was huge, right? I mean, back then, that didn't trend on Twitter in those days, but it should have.
It should have.
Yeah.
It really should have.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I thought that was that was a very uplifting thing. So those are the green tags of this week.
Nice.
So I thought it was a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Well, these are definitely good stuff to follow up on. Stuff that hopefully people can comment about and reply on Twitter to us. Let us know what you think.
Come find us.
Yeah. Give us your thoughts. Let us know if we got any facts wrong. We love to check in on that and correct those.
Yeah. You can message us at the Twitters. We are on @Biofriendly1 ONE. Mm-hmm. And we also have Biofriendly Planet.
That's right.
And then we have on Facebook, we have Biofriendly Planet.
Yeah.
And you can find us. And Instagram too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Biofriendly Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can come find us, come message us, use some of those hashtags. We talked about oil spill. Yeah. Let us know what you think.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Noel.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob.
This was a lovely chat.
It was just splendid.
Just divine.
It was. What would the word be? Would it be stupendous?
Stupendous. Oh, well done.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See you next time.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.